As Uber driver partners are moving through streets, we are of course collecting this immense amount of information, as Cezanne alluded to. And this is something that we have used to great effect for our own core business to date. But there's this other incredibly important side to that coin, and it's all this data that to date we have kind of treated as this digital exhaust, which is all of these insights that are helpful for cities to understand how and why people move through the road network. And so by applying this notion of Uber as a sensor network and starting to think through how and why people move and providing a tool set on top of that, we can give back to the community in a meaningful way and contribute to this conversation about how to improve transportation throughout the city and really throughout the world. We are just looking at times during the election period last year and seeing that basically as a result of very few people being on the road, you can actually just see this kind of green swath of travel times being improved because of the fact that the road networks were not at the capacity that they typically are, and so across the board, all of these times were shorter. Versus, for instance, looking at it year over year and seeing exactly how it's changed over time, and that in going one direction, likely because of weather or other types of infrastructure projects going on, there were a considerable shortening of these travel times, whereas going the other direction, there was actually an increase.
Looking at how can we choose a more sustainable future for our city, looking at how we can really try and contain the use of personal cars and accommodate the growing population in some of these more sustainable modes of movement. As you can see here, in the next decade, channeling most of our use of transport mobility into these more efficient ways, looking at how we can improve our mass transit, increasing use of shared mobility options, and improving walking and cycling conditions so that people have viable alternatives to personal car ownership. So this requires a fundamental shift in how we're planning our streets, really reforming how we usually plan, which looks at building for the car and leaving very little space for all the other road users to compete for a way to move. And we're saying we need to really reform that and look at a more equitable approach where we provide space for walking, cycling, transit, which are more efficient and making them much more safer so that people can use them, and then providing for vehicle movement where and is necessary. And lastly, I wanted to just talk about the power of open data, because a lot of these data collection processes are very onerous. So it's very good when we can get some good quality data online from innovators such as Uber, who are amassing a significant amount of data that can give us an indication of the transport patterns in the city. So as Jordan talked about, the movement platform really gives us a glimpse of the travel patterns across the city and can really inform a lot of our planning improvements. So determining where we need to make a strategic investment to improve access, what's the impact of different events, how our interventions performing, so we can do a very quick before and after assessment of what the infrastructure has done.